Chapter 5. If you want more, you have to invest more. Now, I started out massage therapy in this world of health, holistic, alternative medicine while I was in the military. I started out because I was in basic training in San Antonio, Texas, and I was in a bivouac. And one of my friends, and then the guy's name escaped me now. I know he was a large fella from the Midwest. We had been walking all day, and like a young kid, and like many of us, he forgot to drink as much water, forgetting that we were actually in the desert. Not something you notice in the Midwest, where there's a lot of humidity. He got dehydrated, and at night, while we were both in the tent together, he got a Charlie horse. He went into a cramp. And I quickly realized that the easiest way that at the time I could help him remove the sensation was to massage it and to stretch it. That got me started in the world of massage therapy. But I then went on to serve in the military in a combat medical role, and before long I was discharged and I was back in home providing services to other people. And I decided to go to massage therapy school. And after I'd graduated, I decided, hey, I think I need to go to get a degree. Because in America, if you don't have a degree, people just won't pay you more money. At least that's what I thought. And to some extent, that's actually true. So I went for the most inexpensive route, and the inexpensive route was a local state school that I ended up with a degree in exercise science. Nice school, great school, had wonderful professors. But here's the key. The tuition was extremely low. It was a state school. You're not expecting to spend that much money in the Southeast on universities that are state-run. That doesn't diminish their value. It just means, as a state school, you just won't pay that much. And my massage business grew a little because I had now invested in myself in a skill set that will help me think and read scientific journals. That's actually how I ended up becoming very proficient at reading and analyzing and dissecting scientific journals. Graduated, decided, maybe I should go and get a graduate degree. And I said, why do I need a graduate degree if I'm practicing massage therapy? Well, the profession I've chosen as a degree was in exercise and sports studies. And what surprised me was not what I learned, but by going to a private school that to this day is still very, very expensive, as the schools in the Southeast go, how my perceived value of myself had increased. You see, if you don't invest, and this is important, no matter what business you're in, if you're in automobile sales or real estate or medicine or law or horticulture or construction
Time, 1 hour,
or whatever
5
industry
minutes,
you decide to
45
get
seconds.
in,
Distance,
if you
4
don't
miles.
invest
Pace, 16 minutes,
more,
26 seconds
it's
per
very
mile.
hard
Split pace,
to get
17
more.
minutes, 59 seconds
Important.
per mile.
Keep that in mind. So, by investing a lot of money in getting a graduate degree, I started to charge more. Because now I was worth more to myself. My time was worth more. And I started to perceive that if I'm going to help someone else, it's sort of like a specialist. It's very much like a specialist. It's exactly like a specialist. Think about in medicine. You go, you get a degree, and then you go on to medical school. After about 8 years, you have a medical degree. You're a doctor. You're a general practitioner. And you could stop there and practice until you decide you're not going to do it anymore or the state stops you. Or you can continue and become a specialist. You can become an oncologist. You can become a neurosurgeon. You can become a podiatrist, if you will. You can become any other specialty that you like. Now, becoming a specialist and going on further than a general practitioner now means you have a higher perception of yourself. Now, I can't speak with absolute certainty, but you would generally not find a medical specialist, meaning someone who's a doctor, who gets paid less than a general practitioner. Okay? So, the more special you become, the more value you add. And so, when you're looking to grow your enterprise, you have two things that you have to invest in. You have to invest. And they can either be separate or they can be the same. Now, you can either go along in your business and try to get over for free. You can go on YouTube and learn YouTube videos and learn how to do these techniques and whatnot, which are free. Or you can go to a qualified person who you've paid for their knowledge and their wisdom to show you how to become better at something. Now, the good part about paying someone else is they've already run into the roadblocks that you would potentially run into. They have already invested in themselves. They've already taken the risk. All you have to do is learn from them if they are, in fact, a specialist in the skill that you'd like to obtain. The other side of this is time. Now, you have to decide which one you want. You're gonna have to invest one or the other, time or money. Now, if you don't want to pay someone else, and no, you don't have to, I believe that every person can become the best that they can without even going to school. You can go online, go to the Library of Congress, spend the next 20 years learning how to be a physician. Or you can go to medical school with people who are already physicians and can teach you in 8 years. It's your choice. Time or money. Time or money. The good thing about going to someone else is that they can offer you certifications, licensures that is respected in other industries. And it's sort of a karma or God or I don't know what it is. But if you try to get it for free, people will ask you to give it for free. So invest, spend the money, get the wisdom from someone else, and then you can charge more. And here's the other side of that. Invest at a higher level. If you want to make 6 figures, then you need to be prepared to spend a portion of that. Now, in order to make 6 figures in our industry, myself, I've invested 6 figures over the years. Now I make millions. So think about that. If you want to make 7 figures, then you got to spend 6 figures. If you want to make 8 figures, then you have to spend 7 figures. Does that make sense? It sounds really creepy, but I've not met another millionaire who've not invested at least 6 figures in themselves. They may have purchased software for their business. They may have gone to school and got specialized skills and specialized degrees. They may have invested in buildings that is going to give them that. So if you want to actually have 6 figures in your bank, you have to be prepared to invest in yourself, because it's through that investment in yourself and exchanging wisdom for money from someone else, or knowledge for money from someone else rather, that's when the wheels start turning in your direction. So don't forget that. Don't try to be cheap, because if you try to be cheap, people will be cheap with you. Don't try to scheme and connive and get over, because people will do the same thing to you. There's a saying that goes, do unto others as they would do unto you. If you want to be wealthy, invest like someone who's wealthy. If you want to be poor, invest like someone who's poor. Period. Chapter number 6. Find your lost leader and you'll make millions without even touching your customer. Suffice it to say, I have run a successful health and wellness center focusing primarily on massage therapy. As a matter of fact, massage therapy is our leading product. It gets people to come to the door. It gets them to feel good. They feel relaxed. They feel amazing when they walk out. They feel pain-free, or at least some of their pain is dissipated. I started that business in 1997 with the help of my mom and my sisters and loans and a whole slew of people who were really there to help me to get that business off the ground. Now, as a massage therapist and bringing that business model into reality, it's sometimes surprising when I tell people that even though our primary business model says massage therapy actually is our loss leader. And I'll explain. But first, let me give you an analogy that you may be more familiar with. McDonald's and Burger King. I use those because Burger King, and I'm going to highlight Burger King and then I'll get back to McDonald's, has burger in its title. So when you go to Burger King, yes, they have chicken sandwiches. Yes, they have salads. Yes, they have fish sandwiches. Yes, they have shakes. And you think that's how they make their money. The funny part about that is actually in the Burger King model, and you see this exponentially grown in the McDonald's model, burgers are not their primary moneymaker. Yes, it gets the people to come into the door. Yes, people salivate over burgers all the time. They make these big things about quarter pounders and made from all beef and whatever, and grilled and charred, whatever moniker that they use to get you to come in, to get you salivating, to get you to want to release your credit card or charge card or your debit card or your cash or whatever version that you use, your marks or your euros or whatever. They get you to release them from your pocket. But they are the loss leader. The real moneymaker, the ones that get them to the billions and now into the trillions of burgers sold, is, believe it or not, their beverage. Now, you and I don't really associate Burger King or McDonald's with beverages. Yet McDonald's and Burger King are the largest franchisees that I'm aware of that sell beverages. They sell almost every derivation of beverages that we can have. You can have everything from root beer to Cokes to juices to teas to seltzer to all kinds of different things and flavors. Now, especially when they partner with Coca-Cola, this is more specific on the Burger King side. But that's the loss. That's the one that makes them the money. Now, in the massage side, and returning back to the massage side, massage is what gets people in the door. It gets them to think about it. But in my particular business model, you may want to consider this in your business model, is finding another service or provider that actually makes you the money. No, it's not probably going to be the one that gets people to come in the door, that let them look at you like, oh my God, I feel so pain. I feel so tired. Whatever you want to throw in there, whatever verb you want to throw in there. But the things that get you to 6 and 7 figure faster is not going to be primarily your primary product. Yes, it's going to drive the engine. It's going to get people in the door. But it's probably not going to get you to those 6 and 7 figures. It's going to be products and services that you don't actually touch. In my particular business, our greatest profit comes from acupuncture. Yeah, acupuncture. Most people don't associate that always with massage therapy. But acupuncture is almost pure profit, because the people who come into our door already have familiar with massage therapy. We just scale them up to acupuncture. We invite them to try it out, to give them an opportunity. And then from that opportunity, they start doing it. To make this more monetary and to make it figure, I did a massage recently for 2 hours. 2 hours. It's a deep tissue massage. In our particular case, in that part of the world, a deep tissue massage warranted somewhere around $140. That's comparable. $140 for deep tissue. Wonderful person. However, at the same time, I had my acupuncturist next door providing acupuncture services for 30 minutes. How much was hers? $150. She was paid $150, which a portion of that, actually a large percentage of that, comes to our office, and then she's paid her fee, is $10 more than what I generated for the 2 hours. So think about that. You have to figure out what's going to be your loss leader. How do you get your customers and your clients and your patients to walk in your door? Find your loss leader, and then bring into your practice other services and products that you don't actually have to touch, that is going to make you money, and you don't have to physically touch the patient or the client. Now, in a subsequent chapter, I'm going to talk about products and how products can make you money even when you're sleeping. Because the reality is, you want your company to make you business not always while you're open, but you want that thing churning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That will assure you that you will scale your business way past 6 figures, and you'll be bumping into 7 figures. And if you do your work right and you scale properly, you can actually move into 8 figures. Chapter 7. Who is your Justice League or your power team? Now, right now, Marvel Comics, I love Marvel Comics. I've been a big fan of Marvel Comics for many, many years. However, when it comes to business, and when it comes to just being a successful marketer, and that doesn't matter if we're talking about massage therapy or any other business model we've talked about already in a few chapters, I love to talk about the Justice League. And the reason why the Justice League, for DC, for those of you who are not Justice League fans and who are not as old as I am, I'm actually really aging myself here. DC Comics is where you get Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Batman, and a whole host of other people, like Aquaman. Anyway, just to kind of put it into perspective for those of you who did not know. Hopefully you do now. The reason why you have to have your Justice League is in your business, you have to form this team. And yes, it's going to start with you. All businesses start with one person, and that one person duplicates themselves in different capacities. But the smartest and the wisest business owner knows that they cannot do it all themselves. If you are a massage therapist, you're going to need all these other assets in your business. or you're going to crash and burn really, really quickly. And you're going to find that, yes, you may be the greatest massage therapist or holistic healer or whatever, doohickey or whatever, widget salesperson. If you don't have a quality force working with you, a quality Justice League, Hall of Justice, if you will, then you run the risk of burning yourself out really, really quickly. So, I like to use metaphors because I'm an African. My family are from Cameroon and Nigeria. So we do stories and we use analogies. And so let's go through each person in your team using the analogy of the Justice League. Now let's start with one of the characters that we oftentimes don't think about, but it's one of the most important people. And I'm going to start out with Flash. I love Flash because Flash is fast. Flash moves around. Flash is friends with everybody. Flash likes to talk, move, make things happen. They are the life of the party. They are the person who is the biggest smile person in the room. They don't know a stranger. They're almost like your puppy dog. And I'm not saying that to make it anything. Your favorite dog does not know a stranger. They will lick the butt, smell the crotch of anybody, be it man or beast, to make friends. You need a Flash. If you don't have a Flash, if that Flash is you, then you need to thank God for that ability. It is an amazing ability because you will make friends very, very fast and your business will grow exponentially. The drawbacks to Flash is they move very fast and they are slightly forgetful. So when you're forming your power team or your Justice League, you must have a Flash because they are the life of your business. They are the lifeblood. They recruit. They find clients. They get testimonies. They are out there. They have no problem going out into the community. They love to be on camera. They love to talk. They are your excitable people. The drawback is they're not very organized all the time. If you think I'm joking, look at their car, look at their house, look at their desk. I have a Flash in my business. He is an amazing person. He is probably one of the coolest people, but if you ever look at his desk, his locker, or you look at his apartment, man, it looks like a tornado that went through there. But I'm telling you, this guy is amazing. His name is Jermaine Delgado. If you ever have an opportunity to work with him, he is an amazing character, but he's a Flash. He makes friends so easily. He travels all over the globe, but he is the person who keeps the life going, always thinking about stuff. You got to have the Flash. If you want to make a 6 and 7 figure in your business, you got to have a Flash. Number 2 is you got to have a heart. You have got to have a heart, a purpose, someone in your business who is the soul, who love to get out there. Yes, they will battle with the best of them, but they are the folks who care, who are a mission, who have a passion. They will give you the shirts off their back. They will defend the weak. They are the people who are quick to join charitable organizations. They encourage you to get involved with charitable organizations as a business. And as a business owner, you have to be in part of a charitable organization or have it within your organization because that balances the scale. Now, I'm not sure what your belief structure is, but I firmly believe that no matter what your belief structure is, that the balance of scale must be there. For you to receive, you have to give. And oftentimes we forget that we receive more than we actually give. You have breath in your lungs. You have a business to run. You have employees. If you've gotten to that point so far, you have money in your pocket. It doesn't matter if it's 2 cents or 10 million. You got something, but you've received so much. Therefore, you are required by the balance of scale. In Egypt, they call it ma'at. You must balance it. You must give. And there must be a person in your organization that has the heart, that has the soul, that is the spirit of service. Oftentimes, massage therapists are the embodiment of that person. The drawbacks of that person, that individual, is that they can overextend themselves. Sometimes they can be the enablers. Sometimes people, they become the doormat. But if you remind those people that who they are and what their purpose are, they will help you to have a soul. And a business without a soul is doomed to failure.
Because when people look at a company after they've grown successfully, they're going to ask. Company like Amazon. Amazon is making trillions now. They've one of the very few companies actually moved into the trillion-dollar category. But when somebody looks at Amazon as a soul, as a company, look at what they do. They take care of their people. They take care of their community. They're involved in all kinds of charitable organizations. And they seek out other companies to purchase, like Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a perfect example. They pay, in the grocery business, they pay their employees more money than anybody. And that's the funny thing. Yes, they charge you an arm and a leg for your business. But what they do is they provide income and have people an opportunity to buy into the company. The funny thing about Whole Foods, and this is the odd part of it, you'll see people bagging your groceries who are 40 and 50 years old who have college degrees, advanced degrees. And why do they work for that company? Doing a job that you and I know that a 16-year-old could do. Is because the company has a soul. And you must have in your company someone who is a soul. And when you seek them out, you will know them because they have special characteristics. They want to help the poor. They want to feed the poor. They want to defend those who are abused. They want to get out there and clean the highways and the byways. They want to get in the mud and clean the ditches. If they see trash on the streets, they pick it up. They see someone hurting, they provide comfort. They see somebody freezing outside, they give them a blanket. If somebody asks them, no matter what crowd you're walking with, if somebody comes up to them and asks them, no matter what their story is, and says, can I borrow $1 for a sandwich? They would be the first person to reach into their pocket. They don't care if that person is going to use it for food or alcohol. That's irrelevant. The person asked them for something, therefore they give. I think that's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a fighter. Wonder Woman is a Amazon. Wonder Woman is the embodiment of just raw feminine strength. But outside of that, you have to look deeper. Wonder Woman is the soul of the Justice League. She is the one who's always out there trying to help people. It's an interesting scenario. The next person you have in there is you must have a front person. Sometimes that front person is you. Sometimes you are the leader and you're the supposed leader. That person in the Justice League is Superman. Superman is the person that people look to for guidance, for help, for instructions, for what's the next to do. Oftentimes that's you, and you have to be that person in some cases. You're the CEO of the idea. You're the CEO of your company. You're the CEO of a future Fortune 500 company. You have to put that in your head. That's important. You have to go ahead and do that. That person's job is to go out and innovate and look for new things, to travel all over the universe. Remember, Superman is not of this earth. Superman is technically an illegal alien. If you really want to pay attention to, remember, he flew down here and he was never registered. He was adopted by the Kents. But nowhere in Superman's story does it say he was registered with immigration. Think about that. Yet, he is the front person. When you see the Justice League stand together, he's the one in the front. So don't let where your background comes from. That's not really important. What is important is you have to stand there to defend. But as a leader, and that's the other side of it, you have to have weakness. Superman shows that, yes, he is the strongest man on this earth. This is, in the Justice League, cosmology, I guess. But he has weaknesses. He's weak to kryptonite. Don't be afraid to show your employees that you are weak. When you show people that you're perfect, no one can relate to you. But when people see that you have flaws, that you have issues, and you laugh about them, and you joke about them, but you realize it. My flaw is that I like sun chips, among other things, and cheesecake, and a few other flaws I have, but I don't try to hide them as much. So you have to have a Superman. You have to have a leader of the group to get everybody going. The other person you have to have is a tactician. My favorite character of all characters in Justice League is actually Batman. Because what we forget, even though Superman is the leader, he's the CEO, it's actually Batman that got the Justice League to get together. Think about that. Yes, he is the leader. He would be considered the vice president, but it's actually him who got everybody together. He is the tactician. Whenever you need to formulate a plan to get things moving, to realize what's the next product we should release, what does our finances look like? What does our CFO have to say? Sometimes the tactician is the CFO because Batman sees both good and bad. That's the interesting thing about a tactician. They're oftentimes your accountant. They're oftentimes the people who they seem dry, but they're not. Batman takes tragedy and makes it his calling words. He makes it his power. He takes tragedy and turns it into a triumph. And you could do that. You have to have a Batman. You must have a tactician in your business. You must have an accountant watching over your books. They have to see the bad. They have to remind you. If you're the CEO and you're Superman, you have to remind Superman that he is weak to kryptonite and to stay away from kryptonite. That which will make him fail is Superman. It is Batman, ironically, who keeps in his vault all of the weak points of the Justice League. I looked at the recent, just a Batman kind of episode, and that Batman is the one who is the checks and balance of the business. He makes sure you don't go jumping off the deep end without the proper gear. He makes sure if you got to jump out of a plane, you have a parachute. If you're going scuba diving with sharks, that you have the proper defenses. That's Batman's job. He is the tactician. He is your accountant. You must make sure you have an accountant. And sometimes that accountant is also works as your attorney. Okay. So make sure you have legal representation within your business, and you'll keep advancing. And some of these people you may not initially get in your business, but eventually you will recruit them. So you must have a tactician. You must have an accountant to watch your books to make sure you don't get out there too far. The next person that I love, but we don't always see them because they weren't originally part of the original Super Friends. It's Cyborg. Cyborg is a technocrat. And what a technocrat is, they love technology. You have to have in your business someone who's innovative enough to make sure your websites, your social media, that everything about you, your image, is in line. If you're putting out new content, you must have a technocrat in your business. Someone who loves technology, who loves the way things work. They like order. They're very similar to your Batman, but they're a little different in that they look for ways to make things better, to improve, to look for the good, but also see where opportunity and innovation lie. Some of the people who are your tacticians are your innovators, but they sometimes get thrown into the group with Batman, and that they are your technocrats. Your technocrats are oftentimes get thrown in with your tacticians, like your Batman, but they're really not. They really are out there to find out what's the next horizon for your business to go into. They're there to remind you and to give you guidance on, hey, maybe your massage business needs to move into other areas like the hospitals, the VA. Maybe you need to move into sports. Maybe you need to hire more people. Maybe you need to use innovation and go into smart devices to help your clients and customers find you faster. You must incorporate a cyborg. A cyborg is, like the name implied, partially one, but they're partially the other side. They have heart, but they also love technology. So you must have these characters in there to grow your business, to make it successful. And there's other players in there like Aquaman, who has a special role. And I'll have to go over that in the future because it takes a little while to go over Aquaman. But while you're building, yes, your business is going to start with you. But as you grow, you need to start adding in those people. You need a Flash, someone who's out there, who's out in public, who's your face, who loves to meet people. They're going to bring people in your door regardless. They make friends really fast. but you got to keep them organized. You need to have somebody who's your heart, who's going to find your soul for your business. You need a Wonder Woman, someone out there who's going to give you your mission, your soul, your passion, your whatever, who's going to show the community that you're more than just business. You must hire that person, but be careful. Do not abuse them. They're easily abused, and they keep it built in deep inside, and when they explode, all hell breaks loose. These are the people who are normally the whistleblowers in companies. Just FYI, you treat them wrong, they will blow up and explode and become your whistleblowers. So treat your Wonder Womans great. You must have a face, a leader, a CEO that is Superman, but that CEO must be reminded that they have vulnerabilities. You must have a tactician who is your Batman, who is there to remind you that you have weaknesses, but also help you to see the bad and the good. And you must have a cyborg who is your tactician, who will give you the ability, or who is your technocrat, who will give you the ability to go into more innovative environments and industries that you may not have not even known in the past. So that's your explanation of getting your Justice League started. I know. Chapter 8. If you steal, you'll attract thieves as customers. Now, a couple of years ago, I was at one of my mentors, Danny Johnson's seminar. It's called First Steps to Success. It was probably the best introduction to business and business ethics course I've ever taken. I've taken college courses, and this is probably one of the best business ethics courses because it centers on improving the number one business developer. That's you. It's not even the brand or the company or even the product that you sell is most important that you improve. It's if you're a business leader, you first improve yourself. And when you improve yourself, people around you will improve themselves. It sort of works that way. So while I'm in line, it's early in the morning. It's probably like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in Dallas, Texas. And I realized that other people had been there early. And, they had been there sleeping all night. Kind of like one of those concerts, like if you've gone to one of those Beatles concerts or any one of those concerts that you admire, that you've been in line. And I'd got out there about 5 o'clock, so I was in line. Then, after a while, you've been there for a couple of hours. The event starts at 9 o'clock. But what would happen is undoubtedly people would start showing up. Now, when I first arrived at 5 o'clock, there were maybe 20 people in line ahead of me. But by the time I got to 9 o'clock, there was probably 200 people ahead of me. And I realized something was odd. I said, hold on. Now, I got out here at 5. Not extremely early like the other people who got there before me, but I got up there early enough. And I realized that some of these people were business company owners. Some of them were presidents. And they came down later. They had a good night's sleep. They got in line, and they went ahead of me. And I felt a little ill because I said, hey, I'm in line just like them, and I'm here to learn how to improve my personal skills, but also my business. But then I looked at them and said, hey, but you guys are making all this money. Why do you need to cheat? Why do you need to steal from other people? And it started to bother me, and it bothered me to the point that I started looking around in my own life and asked myself, what am I stealing from other business owners? And I started to look at things, and I know this sounds strange because it is odd, is when I started looking at some of the software that I use in my company, like Microsoft Words. And I realized that when I was struggling financially and I was looking for just some ways to get, for lack of a better word, to get over, I started to look for cheap ways not to buy the software. So I looked for product keys and access keys, and I looked for different ways to maneuver my way around that. But it was odd because when I was stealing from Microsoft, my business was struggling. I'm going to say that again. When I was stealing from Microsoft, my business was struggling. And it
reminds us that there is a law out there that says if you steal from other people, you will attract thieves. Now, if you're a software company, a software developer or whatever, or you create content for the internet, or you write books, or you do whatever, and you put your heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears, and you cry about it, you pray about it, you do whatever you need to do, and you put everything in there, you're spiritually aligned, and if some yokel comes along and just grabs your stuff, plagiarizes it, passes it off as themselves, how do you feel? You feel a little ill. But I would caution you about feeling ill, is that don't worry. There is a law. I don't know if it's karma. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if it's balance. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, to be perfectly honest. But what I know is when you steal, you start to attract thieves. But when you're honorable and you provide your service, you will have an abundance. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a perfect character, and I make consistent mistakes. And I realize every time I do this and I violate this law, that my business slows down. Every time I start saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to just watch this bootleg movie or something like that, then that is off alignment. And you start to think, what in your life do you have that's off alignment? Why can't you get that marketing campaign going? Why is it that people are not buying your products? Why are customers not walking through your doors? Why can't you book more massages? Why is it so darn hard to get things done? It's because you're not in alignment with who you truly are. You're out there to provide a service and a product to people in exchange for money. That's honorable. But if you steal from another person, then someone is going to steal from you. It's the rules. If you steal, others will steal from you. Now, there are going to be people going to steal anyway. That just happens. There are just people who are going to do it. I've done it. You've done it. Don't even try to lie and say you didn't do it, because I know you did it. It doesn't matter if you're talking about bootleg movies or maybe product keys or maybe this or that. It doesn't really matter. The point is, we do it. But if you take yourself out of the equation and say, hey, I'm not in alignment anymore. I'm going to go out there and do the best I can to not steal from another person, both in my business and in my personal life, and watch what happens. I'm in amazement and awe how I just watch it happen, because I can intentionally go and take somebody's stuff, you know, and we don't think about it so much, but it's like, okay, well, did you give credit to that person when you borrowed their information from a website? I say that. When you borrowed somebody's information from a website, did you give them credit? Did you cite where you got it from? If they wrote a great article that you saw, do you cite them? Meaning giving them credit. When you give them credit, you are actually providing value for yourself. But if you steal it and you don't give credit to them, then it's out of alignment. Okay? So, if you go out there and build a business on honor by providing services, then not only are you going to grow, but those employees who see you will do the same thing. Chapter 10. Networking is not about profits. It's about making a friend. I find myself on a brisk winter morning around 8 a.m. at the Hampton Inn on University Parkway in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's an event that it's not unfamiliar with myself, because it's put on usually once a month by my local Chamber of Commerce. It's kind of like what you normally would see. You go in, you meet people, exchange business cards, and you try to figure out if what you have makes sense to the other person, or vice versa makes sense to you. And I was young, and just trying to figure it out. So I walk up in the look, and I do like anybody who just comes into the room. I look around and I survey, and I have nothing in my hand, so I feel a little awkward. And for someone who is a
primarily an introvert. Most people don't really understand that I'm actually an introvert. I rather just sit at home and do silly things with the family. However, I've learned to behave like an extrovert. And by that account, I knew I had to make a beeline for the coffee and snack, breakfast snack, table, because I just didn't want to walk in there and just not have something to do with my hands, because you don't want to look like a fool just standing there by yourself. So I do that. I get my coffee, I grab a Danish, and I start looking around the faces that I normally would see, and I, do my hi and hello. And what is customary nowadays is I look around for people who look really, really bored. People I'd never met, and people who look like they were forced to come there by their boss. So I spot this rather attractive lady standing there looking extremely bored. About as exciting as watching an amoeba grow, and her face looked like, why am I here? I hate this place. So naturally, for a person who will look for that kind of person, I walk over, introduce myself, and immediately realized that her personality was one that likes to smile and like to joke and laugh and almost like a mockingbird, sort of strange, almost like a parakeet, not a mockingbird. I started to mimic what she started to do. So if she laughed out loud, I laughed out loud. If she was much more reserved, then I would be a little bit more reserved. So the conversation took off. Before the event ended, we had ended up spending almost the entire time talking with each other, and I learned that she was married, her husband was a builder, she had 2 kids, her dad lived in Florida, and a whole host of personal information that most people are not willing to share when they just met a perfect stranger. But learning over the years that people just want to be your friend, they're not always looking to be your business partner. So after a while, I found out, that there were some things that she had going on. We became good friends. She ended up becoming one of our clients and patients, and we helped her over the years. Well, fast forward a little bit more. The husband that she had decided that he was going to spend some time in someone else's bed, and like a good wife, she disagreed with that. So, long story, kind of got to what is typical, ended up in the courtrooms, lots of, emotional, heart-wrenching behavior. And along the path, I realized that as a massage therapist, your job is not always to relieve just that person's body pain. Like you think, oh, I have some tension in my neck. I have some tension in my low back. I have some, my feet. I have a sore knee or whatever. Whatever is the case, oftentimes as massage therapists, we're almost trained to start looking at those kind of things. However, I almost say the best characteristic of a good massage therapist is a listener, or any business owner. Because what you're listening for is oftentimes, do you have a solution for a problem? Now, this individual who became a dear friend, and I know her kids, and I know her mom, and I know her dad, and I know, like a lot of people in her family, been to her house and been to her daughter's graduations, and, it's kind of, marriages and all that stuff. We're like sister and brother now, and she's a dear friend of my wife, and anyway, we vacation together and stuff like that. So going through some challenges, I had a network of places that I go, and I had been training with a lady by the name of Danny Johnson, who is really big on personal development. So realizing that my network of people that I know or things I came in contact with could be a possible solution. Now, obviously, she was mad. She was hurt. She was crying. Her trust had been shattered by someone she loved, and it needed to be built back up. So knowing that networking and learning that networking is not about you getting new business and whatnot. Networking is about making a friend. Now, what does a friend do? A friend sees another friend in pain and asks questions and see if what they offer as a solution will work. So I suggested counseling, and I suggested that, they talk to a lawyer, and she obviously was going to do that anyway. I suggested some personal development and a lot of forgiveness, and
it turned out that it worked out very well. She has incidentally sent me a tremendous amount of business that I never ever asked for. I never said, hey, can you send me some new business? She did not. She introduced me to her company headquarters. She introduced me to the president of her company. She introduced me to a whole host of other people that I'm still well connected with. So fundamentally, when you're thinking about networking, specifically when you're going to a networking event or you're meeting someone at the grocery store, ask yourself a critical question. Are you networking so that you can grow your profits or your prestige, or are you growing to help the person in front of you? Because if you are networking to help the person in front of you, your wealth and your influence will grow exponentially. Secondarily, if you understand that you're networking with other people so that you can have solutions for people that you come in contact with, then there's no telling who you can actually come in contact with all the time. I have people in my group that are senators, and some of them are police officers, and some of them are convicted felons who are currently incarcerated. But I network with those people not to build my own prestige, but to offer a solution. Now, incidentally, someone may have a problem politically, or maybe they need help trying to get their passport. That's going to a senator. But then what happens when they're the young person who's getting in trouble and they need someone to give them a reality check? That's my friend who is a convicted murderer. You think, well, maybe the police officer is going to give them an offset. No, sometimes the police officers are the wrong people to a young person who's getting in trouble. They need someone who's been in prison for 30 years to give them a reality check and say, if you go down this path, you're going to end up here. And so you don't discredit anybody. Everybody is someone to network. Everybody is a solution for someone else. Your job is to remember that all you're doing is connecting that person to a solution, connecting that problem to a potential answer. And that is the purpose of networking. Chapter 11, get your video going or you go broke. Now, I was sitting in a seminar hosted by my then coach, Danny Johnson. And I realized that in the time period, I had struggled, and this is what resonated with me, is that I had struggled with debt. As a matter of fact, the first time I got into debt was 18 years old. I got a Sears card, which I loved, and I bought all kinds of stuff. Not understanding how debt and income were related to each other, I, like many other young people at 18, got free money. And I thought, oh, well, that's really cool in the gang. So at 18, and I get in debt. I joined the debt force, if you will. I started making rich bankers very wealthy while I worked like a slave just trying to pay off the interest rate. And so I'm in a seminar, and we're now talking about debt. So we're talking about building businesses, building families. But one of the major problems that I learned later was that debt will crush you. And it's been the source of many breakups and marriages, why friends break up, while there's disharmony, is that debt. And so I found out that I had the problem, and many couples, if you look at as the outside of infidelity, one of the major issues that cause families to break up, especially couples, is debt. And so I was looking at some statistics, and I started watching, patterns of people I knew who looked like they were happy, but they had a mountain of debt, and this compounding debt started to erode relationships. So that aside, I'm sitting here in this thing,
and I'm learning about debt. And this was one time that I had paid off, I paid off 6 figures of debt from house and education and medical loans and a whole host of things. And so I'm sitting there, and Danny Johnson, she speaks from stage, says, who's paid off X number of amounts of debt? And so I raised my hand proudly, and then other people raised their hand. And before long, she said, if you have a testimony about debt, why don't you come on up? I was extremely nervous because prior to that, I had not had that kind of audience in front of me. There was probably maybe 1,200 people in the audience at the time. And so I had never stood in front of that many people at one time to talk about something that I was actually ashamed of, was the fact that I had acquired that much debt. But at the same time, I was proud that I had paid off. So, I got on stage and raised my hand and started talking about what it was like to get rid of the debt. And even though I was extremely nervous and I fumbled over my words and I did not sound professional, I sound like a blatant idiot. As I go back and I look at the video, I'm like, oh my God, I was just rusty and I was terrible. And I just felt so self-conscious, and I was like, I never want to do it again, until the next event came up. And then I did another video and I looked a little better. And I did another one. I probably did about maybe 6 or 7 videos, and then I started to realize that, like anything, like riding a bike, doing videos is no different than that. Yes, the first time you come out, you suck. And just admit, I suck at this. I don't look good. My teeth are wrong. My hair is wrong. My makeup is wrong. Whatever. I slur my words or whatever. You're gonna get that. That self-awareness. But something is gonna transform in your life. And you're going to become, if you're a great marketer and you want to become a 6 and 7 figure person, you're going to have to get over that. You're going to have to learn how to talk to the camera. Now, there are some important steps for you to understand about why it's so important for you to get on camera. Number one is that you can't be everywhere. You're a massage therapist, or you're a healer, or you do Reiki, or you're an acupuncturist, or you do whatever. You may even be a chiropractor. You can only do one patient or client at a time. What I mean by do is you can always do one treatment at a time, only one at a time. I've yet to find not a chiropractor, but a massage therapist who can do 5 people at the same time. Massage 5 people is what I'm talking about. Now, if you can do that, then you need to write to Ripley's and also send me a letter, because you're obviously a unicorn, because you're a freak of nature. But the vast majority of us can only do one person at a time. But how can you duplicate yourself so that more clients hear about you, learn about you, love, like, and trust you, and want to build a relationship with you professionally? That's through video. And you're going to have to get over your ills about being on video, being on camera, because you're building an enterprise that is going to save lives. You're building an enterprise that is going to treat people for health reasons that they may have been afflicted with for years. You're in it to help them, to serve them. But you can't serve them if you're hiding in your bubble and you're afraid. You got to come out and bold and put on your big girl, big boy, panties on, or, boxers, depends on how you roll. And you got to get out there and start doing videos. Now, the videos are important because the videos are not designed to sell. That's the second part, is that your videos are not designed to sell. Your videos is to address quickly, briefly, something almost that somebody can remember, that you're not on there for longer than really 10 minutes. And that's actually long. Actually, you don't want more. Truth be told, anything longer than 3 minutes. So as stated, anything that's longer than like 3 minutes is too long, because you want to get your point out. Maybe you're getting health tips. Maybe you're getting financial tips. Maybe you are just talking about your experience of walking or your experience in nature, but you have a focus, okay? The third part is whatever you are talking about must solve a problem. People are attracted to you because you solve a problem. You make them feel good. You make them think. You make them feel motivated, encouraged. You have to, whenever you do a videos, it has to address a problem, especially if you're being more strategic and tactical. If you're just doing it for entertainment, just for the fun of it, that's different. But if you've been strategic and building up your brand and you are your brand, then you have to do something that is going to solve a problem. So maybe someone has a headache. What tips can you give them? Okay? The fourth part of this is that your videos cannot be boring. Okay? Your videos can be boring. Nobody's going to watch a boring video. You know, the Bueller, not going to work. You have to have one of the three components. It must be entertaining, it must be informative, and it must be quick. Those are the three components. It has to be entertaining, it has to be informative, and it has to be quick. That's how your videos are supposed to be. So entertaining could be something funny, it can be a joke, it can be something you notice. It's making fun of yourself, which is always fun to do, and something, an aha moment, you're walking or while you're doing your videos, or something that gets people to stop and look and listen. And then it must be informative. It must help them to solve a problem. So it doesn't have to be always serious about the clinical aspect. It's about the joy and the fun. But the problem, you have to think of it from their perspective. What does this solve for them? Maybe they're not getting any sleep. Maybe they haven't laughed. Maybe they haven't gone on vacation. Maybe they haven't had sex in a while. Those things are all great because every human has those issues and you can address them, man or women. So go ahead and run from that format. Now, in the next chapter, we're going to talk about how to take these videos and multiply their efforts so that you not only do it one time, you actually are able to double dip, triple dip, and quadruple dip on the same content you created from that video. So I'll see you in the next chapter. Chapter 13, Location, Conversation, Domination. Now, here's something really funny. Have you ever been on your favorite movie website or something like that? Or maybe you stopped over on Amazon and you were looking for something on Amazon. Say you were looking for a iPhone. Funny enough. Because you need a new iPhone. Because, by the way, I love iPhones. Those of you who like Droids, I'm sorry for you. I like iPhones because they have more cool apps and the apps actually work. That's the important part. Some people are more Droidy. I have been a convert. I used to be the Android kind of kingpin. And I used to like laptops that were not made by Apple. But I'm here to tell you that these devices work very well with your iPhone. It's the sharing ability, when you understand the concept of Apple, is that things share across each other, across a pathway, and it makes it easier. Yeah, they're very expensive, but they're very hard to hack, just by the way. So, back to my story. Sorry, got distracted. Is if you try to buy something or you're searching for something on Amazon again, you'll start noticing that if you go to other websites, maybe it's your favorite sports site that you like to visit. Maybe you're going to a hotel and you want to look on their hotel site, or maybe you're looking at a generic hotel site. And you start noticing that every so often you will see that same camera or iPhone that you're looking for. Now, in this case, it's a little creepy because they've probably dropped a cookie on your computer and they're basically tracking what you do. And the amount of technology nowadays can track what you think, what you eat, what you say, what political affiliation you belong to is slightly creepy. But as a marketer, it's important to understand that what they're doing is their location, conversation, domination. Now, what I mean by location, conversation, how does that relate to your massage therapy business in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or New York City, New York, or Tacoma, Washington, or Toronto, Canada, or Miami, Florida, wherever it is? How are you going to dominate the conversation based on your location? Now, that's important because
If you can dominate the conversation within your locale, then you can compete against any company. Now, there are large companies out there, and many of them are franchised, and we all know who the largest franchise in the massage therapy industry. I intentionally do not mention them for, not legal purposes, but because I want to keep the focus here. You can compete against them if you understand the idea of location, conversation, domination. The word domination means you control it. Anytime someone says massage or massage therapy, you should be at the top of the list. How do you dominate that? Well, in the previous chapter, we talked about content multiplier. And that's important because if you want to dominate the conversation, you have to have a lot to talk about. Okay, you can't dominate the conversation with only one format. You have to be able to saturate your location with anything that's related to massage therapy or the application or the education with you attached to it. You have to do that. Now, how do you do that effectively? Number one, we've talked about in the previous chapter, is create the content. You already now got the content. Now it's starting to be very smart about where you start placing these and how you get other people to be talking about you. Number one is you have to have a website, because a conversation makes no sense in a digital space or any space if people can't find you. And I should have said you create a funnel and not a website. And later on, you're going to learn what a funnel is over a website and why you absolutely need a funnel and not necessarily a website. Because if you understand the basic concept of a funnel, then you understand why you should never go back to a website and why you should always go and lead with a funnel. But you need a website. For the simplicity's sake, you need a website, because when people look for you, they need to find a home. All the information out there in conversation that you're going to be dominating must lead to a home. You have to have a digital space. Oftentimes, that's your website. For some people who are just starting out, maybe that's a Facebook page. I don't recommend that your home for your digital space be Facebook, because that's somebody else's real estate. And if Mark Zuckerberg ever got mad at you, he or any one of his investors can kick you off of that real estate. You want to own your own real estate. So you must have a home for all your digital content to point towards. Okay? That's number one. You have to have a house before you build a neighborhood, okay? You need a house. So digitally, you need some place for everybody, everything to be pointed towards, so you can so that it'll make sense. Number two is you have to understand that you're a business person. Yes, you are a healer. Yes, you are a practitioner. Yes, God gave you the hands and the minds to serve other people, but you are in business. This is not just, I want to do it because I only love people. I suspect that you were motivated probably by the ability you want to help other people because of an experience you have, but also you want to be able to be paid for your work and your effort, because massage therapy, as you may have really realized, if you're just getting started, maybe not, but if you've been at it as long as I am, no matter what kind of protection you use, no matter what kind of body mechanics you use, massage therapy is a contact sport and is brutal. It is brutal. And eventually, you will have to modify, you'll have to change to something less invasive than maybe just general Swedish. You're going to have to switch to something else. It's a brutal, it takes a lot out of your body, okay? That's it. So you're going to have to be able to create a portal for people to come to you to learn from you. So you're in business. Start creating a network, and we talked about this in previous chapters, a network of how to business. Have you joined your Chamber of Commerce? If you haven't joined your Chamber of Commerce, I don't care if you don't have any money, join your local Chamber of Commerce. What is a Chamber of Commerce and what's the purpose? The Chamber of Commerce job is to make money for everybody in the area. That's it. They're a nonprofit, but their main focus is to bring money and commerce into your area. That is their golden rule. It's to keep money in your community and grow money in your community. So who do you think knows business? The Chamber of Commerce knows business, and they know business people. So connect with the Chamber of Commerce. Oftentimes you'll find that the Chamber of Commerce has scholarships. If you're just starting out
And, maybe you go to them and talk to them. If you have the money and you're flush with cash, by all means, pay for the membership. It's usually not that expensive, but it is something that you need to calculate into your business. I joined our local Chamber of Commerce only a couple of years out of my business, and I've never canceled my membership because it has created not only a fascinating group of clients, but also friends, colleagues, mentors, and charitable organizations that I work with that I learned by working with the Chamber of Commerce. So you have to join one. Number 2 is create a good connection with the local media. The Chamber of Commerce will typically help you with that because they know who all the local media, who are the newspaper, who are the local TV, radio, whatever. They're connected 9 times out of 10. Those local media outlets are all members of the Chamber of Commerce because the Chamber of Commerce always, typically brings news that is relevant to the community, and people making money is relevant to the community, or people losing money is relevant to the community. So create a regular connection with your local media outlet. How do you do that? Very simply, create a press release about something new. Maybe you just started your business and so you want to create a press release, but you have to be intelligent about the way you create a press release. You have to write it with the assumption that you're not really talking about yourself. You're almost acting like you're a reporter. And there are various places online that you can look up how to build a press release. But the concept is you want to make it easy for your reporter who's going to pick up your press release, almost verbatim copy. And I've done this to reporters, and I've made it look just like, gave references and even gave information on who to contact for further information, and almost verbatim they copy it. It's creepy, but if you do a good job, they're going to put your stuff in because most reporters are under the deadline. A lot of them, because of the digital space, are even more deadline because it's just got to be pumped out quick. Back in the old days when it was only newspaper, they can pump it out maybe once a day. Now they got to pump it out 3-4 times a day, and they got to be on the point all the time. So create a press release and send one out relatively regularly. And it's not just self-promoting press releases. It's about something that you discovered, or maybe you're at a training, or maybe you learned something that is going to help someone else besides your business. The important part about the press release is not necessarily to always point attention to you. It's to point attention to you as an authority. Remember, you're dominating the conversation. It should not always be about you, but you're creating in your community that you are a massage and wellness practitioner and you're an authority. So that if anybody brings anything related to healthcare, be it from the hospital or local clinics, that you will be the one they start tapping into. So the idea is to confront yourself with the reality is that you are going to be the most well-known practitioner of health and wellness in your area because you're going to dominate it. If you do it smartly, it's not going to cost you that much money. But understand this, you're in business, therefore you will have expenses, so understand that. So that's it for this chapter. Remember, you want to make it location. And next, in a couple of chapters, we're going to talk about how to geo-sync that stuff so that when you use Facebook or LinkedIn or you use any type of media, that it will be focused into your location so that if you are, for example, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, you won't have clients following you from Maine, which is not really relevant because most people are not going to drive or fly all the way from Maine all the way to Miami, Florida. Now, you may have people who are visiting your town every now and then, but generally speaking, people are not going to fly or drive from Maine to see your clinic in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So we'll talk about that in another chapter.